Hello, everybody, and welcome to Emit One. I am your host, Tyson Honecker, and on today's video, we are going to be diving into what I believe will be the Oscar nominations for the 95th Academy Awards. Now, the actual Oscars will be announcing their nominees here on Tuesday, January 24th, but we're going to see how close I am to actually predicting what the outcome will be. So let's dive on into that here on Emit One. All right. Well, this has been an interesting award season, and it is all leading up to the Oscars here. And now, since we're close to their nominations being announced, I think it's time to put my nominations, my prediction skills to the test here. And let's dive on into it with Best Picture. Now, this race has been heated between three films, which is Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, and The Fabelmans. Now, this order has interchanged many times, but I think I've got a pretty good order in what they're going to be announced in. Again, the order here doesn't really matter as long as they get in nomination-wise. So, I have Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, Top Gun Maverick, Tar, Elvis, Avatar, The Way of Water, All Quiet on the Western Front, The Whale, and Women Talking. Now, it's really the last three there that are kind of a surprise, but yet can be changed as well and could not be there come nomination Tuesday. However, All Quiet on the Western Front did incredible at the BAFTAs. It got 14 nominations. I believe it got 14 nominations out of 15 categories at the BAFTAs. So it's loved, obviously, by the British voting group. However, that voting body does translate often to the Oscars. And because they heavily nominated it there, it's a favorite. I believe it's going to show up here at Best Picture, and I believe it's going to do a pretty good performance in other categories as well. So that's why I have All Quiet on the Western Front there. The Whale got a PGA nomination. So to those of you who don't know, that's Producers Guild. And it got a PGA nomination for the Best Picture, which was a surprise to many, but because of that, I do feel like it got a good enough start, so it's in this Best Picture conversation. And Women Talking. Now, Women Talking has kind of actually been on the downfall recently, but I still think they're going to give Women Talking Best Picture here, as well as nominated in another category as well. But I believe Women Talking is going to get that 10th spot, but let's talk about some of the films that possibly could get on this list as well. I mean, you do have Babylon, you do have Triangle of Sadness, Glass Onion, which I would love, and some are saying RRR. I don't think that has a chance, but I think those three, Babylon, Triangle of Sadness, and Glass Onion, have a good shot at making it onto this list. However, I just don't see it as much as I do with these three that I named. So with Glass Onion, I would love to see that on there, as it's my second favorite film of 2022, but I just don't know if I see it beating out any of the three of All Quiet on the Western Front, The Whale, or Women Talking. I think it's a pretty set 10 list, but look out for those three, Babylon, Triangle of Sadness, and Glass Onion as well, because you could see one of those or two of those here on Best Picture come nominations Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that, but that's my list for Best Picture. Moving on to Best Director. Now, this one has also the top two are going to kind of go flip-flop. We got Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin, Todd Field for Tar, and this one, the fifth spot here is tough. Like I said, All Quiet on the Western Front did incredible at the BAFTAs, so a lot of people are possibly nominating Edward Berger, I believe, for All Quiet. And he bumped out James Cameron for a lot of people. However, I think I'm still going to keep James Cameron in for Avatar: The Way of Water. I'm not feeling as confident as I am for that, or as I was at the beginning of this Oscar race, but I mean, it's going to be tough. I could see him still losing out, but you know, what are you going to do? I mean, I'm just going to stick to my guns. I'm going to stick with James Cameron. and we'll see how that goes. I mean, you got Baz Luhrmann here, Sarah Polley for Women Talking. I mean, I just don't know if I see Baz Luhrmann getting in here for Elvis and Sarah Polley for Women Talking. It really does stink, especially when we've had two great female directed movies here this year with Gina Prince Bythewood for The Women King. However, I just don't think they're gonna make it in, and that really does suck. But I think we're gonna just see this top five here of, or this top four for sure of Todd Field for Tar, Mark McDonough, the Daniels, and Spielberg. I think are for sure locks on getting nominated. It's just that fifth spot that I believe is still gonna go to James Cameron, but we'll find out. We'll find out pretty soon. So moving on to Best Actress, we have Kate Blanchett for Tar, Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Danielle Detweiler for Till, Viola Davis for The Women King, and I still have Michelle Williams for The Fablemans. Now, Michelle Williams has been getting snubbed at some places, which leaves this fifth spot up for grabs. But then you ask yourself, well, who would take it? And you have Ana de Armas for Blonde and Margot Robbie possibly for Babylon. I just don't know if I see one Ana de Armas getting in. Not a lot of people loved that movie. They loved Ana de Armas, but they didn't really love Blonde. And I think when it comes to the Oscars, they kind of got to like your movie in order to nominate you. And I just don't see that happening here with Ana de Armas. Margot Robbie, she's just not getting enough in the conversation. Neither her nor Brad Pitt for Babylon, so I don't see her popping on in here. I'm not as confident as I was about Michelle Williams getting in at this fifth spot, but I do think she's going to secure the nomination for sure. But she's definitely fallen as award season has gone on. I'm very, very happy to see Danielle Detweiler here getting in for Till. I loved her performance. I thought it was the best one that I've seen all year. So I'm very happy she's going to get recognized. However, I do still think the front runner is Kate Blanchett for Tar. I don't really see anybody coming up close. Even Michelle Yeoh, I don't see her knocking at Kate Blanchett's door anytime soon. So, but those are the five I think is going to get nominated, and well, we'll come to see if that's true come Tuesday. Moving on to Best Actor. Now we have Brendan Fraser for The Whale, which I still think is number one. Number two, we got Colin Farrell for Banshees of Inisherin. Number three, Austin Butler, Elvis. And number four, Bill Nye for Living. And it's this fifth spot that not a lot of people know. I think this one is up for grabs. And I think it's up for grabs between Paul Mescal for After Sun and Tom Cruise for Top Gun Maverick. I would be very surprised if if Tom Cruise got it for Top Gun. I don't know if I'm seeing that. Some people are predicting it though, because yeah, Top Gun was very successful, $1.5 billion. The movie was beloved by many, and it brought a lot of people back into the movie theater. And some are making the argument that, oh well, the Oscars could recognize that huge feat that it did, and recognize Tom Cruise here. However, I think it's going to get recognized in Best Picture and some other categories as well that it will get nominated in and possibly win. But for right now, I don't feel confident enough to put Tom Cruise on here. A dark horse could possibly be like Hugh Jackman in The Sun, or Tom Hanks in A Man Called Otto. But for Hugh Jackman's argument, not a lot of people saw The Sun. It was just how they released that movie was a failure. And I think if they did release it in a great release structure, then Hugh Jackman would be in the conversation. I would love to see him in here, but I just don't think he has enough people that have seen his movie to nominate him here, which is why I think Paul Mescal for After Sun is going to get in here as the fifth spot. I'm not as confident in him. After Sun has not been getting much love. He is also a younger actor, and the Academy tends to sometimes sideline those younger actors from nominations, especially wins. But I think just because it's kind of weak here. The race is weak when it gets to that fifth spot. There's not much competition. So I think they're just going to give it to Paul Mescal because they don't really know who else they could possibly give it to. So I think Paul Mescal will secure that fifth spot come Tuesday. All right, so moving on to Best Supporting Actress. Number one, I have Angela Bassett for Black Panther. I have Carrie Condon at number two for Banshees of Inisherin. Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Hung Chow in The Whale, which I love that she's getting in there. And again, it's this fifth spot that's kind of up for grabs. And it's between Stephanie Hsu for Everything Everywhere All at Once and what I believe to be that fifth spot is Dolly Day Leung for Triangle of Sadness. I don't think they're going to nominate Stephanie Hsu here because I think they're going to want to give the Everything Everywhere All at Once love to Jamie Lee Curtis. And they're not going to want to negate any votes that would go Jamie Lee Curtis's way and say, okay, well, I really like the movie. So if I have Stephanie Hsu and Jamie Lee Curtis to vote for, some would say that's going to split the Oscar voting. And some Jamie Lee votes would go to Stephanie Hsu. And I think they're going to want the spotlight on Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't see Stephanie Hsu getting in here. I don't really understand why she would. I think she did an incredible performance, but I think Dolly Day Leung in Triangle of Sadness was a little bit better. So I think she's going to get that fifth spot here, Dolly is, and I don't think that Stephanie Hsu. I think she's number 6 on the outside looking in. So it's going to be very interesting. I would not be surprised at all if Stephanie Hsu got on here. And I think it's just between those two for that fifth spot. I mean, Jessie Buckley for Women Talking. Like I said, Women Talking is just going downhill. I don't see anybody getting nominated from that movie and making it on this list. So, like I said, it's between Stephanie Hsu and Dolly Day Leung. But I believe that Dolly Day Leung is going to get that fifth spot along with Hung Chow, Jamie Lee Curtis, Carrie Condon, and Angela Bassett. I think that's the 5 for Best Supporting Actress. And moving on to Best Supporting Actor. Now, this one I feel very confident in. I also feel very confident in the winner. Number 1, we got Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Standout. Gonna win, hands down. But number 2, we got Brendan Gleeson for Banshees, Paul Dano for The Fabelmans, Barry Keoghan for Banshees of Inisherin, and Eddie Redmayne for The Good Nurse. Wasn't so sure about Eddie Redmayne, but he got that SAG nomination, and that made me more confident in him. So I was like, all right, I think he's gonna nominate for the Oscar. As far as 2 through 4, I mean, Paul Dano, I think, is the talk of the town when it comes to the Fabelmans movie. I think he's going to get recognized here. Brendan Gleeson for Banshees, amazing, brilliant. I just saw that movie again a couple days ago, and I loved it. His performance was great, and then so was Barry Keoghan for Banshees of Inisherin. I'm very glad he's getting recognized for that role here, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job. I mean, in the future with his career and everything, this was a career-defining performance, I think, for him. But again, it's going to go to Ke Huy Quan for Everything Everywhere, and I could not be more happy. I mean, I just fall in love with this guy more and more when he's on this awards circuit, and he's doing interviews, and he's just talking to people, and you can just see his energy. He's so proud to be here. He feels so special to be here. So I'm just very glad he's going to walk away with the win. But those are my 5 for Best Supporting Actor. We move on to Best Adapted Screenplay here. Now this is where it kind of gets interesting. We got Women Talking, Glass Onion, The Whale, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Living. I believe those are the top 5 to get nominated here. And as I know, we're not really talking winners here in this prediction video. We're just talking about who will get nominated. The winners we'll talk about who we think will win come Tuesday when the nominations are announced. But I do say I think it's between Glass Onion and Women Talking. But don't be surprised. I think The Whale, it's getting some momentum, and I think it's a late bloomer in this award season. So I think it's just going to keep bumping up spots in categories it's nominated for, and I think it could do that here. So. But Glass Onion with Ryan Johnson also has a pretty good shot at winning. So does Women Talking with Sarah Polley, which is where I think they could possibly give Sarah Polley her award here, even though they didn't give her Best Director nomination. So be on the lookout for that. But these are the 5 that I'm looking for come on Tuesday when they announce the predictions, or when they announce the nominations. All right, moving on to original screenplay. We got Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. I believe this is a pretty locked category for the 5 of them. Don't really see anybody else getting in here. I mean, the closest would be After Sun, but I just don't hear enough from that movie as I do from Triangle of Sadness. And with the other 4 I'm very confident in, it's between Banshees and Everything Everywhere for that 1 spot. It's going to be a tight race, I think, between those two, but I think the five here is pretty locked, and I think it's pretty well deserving. So that's that for original screenplay. Moving on to cinematography. This one's a little tough for me to predict. Um, Starting off just by talking about Empire of Light. It's by the cinematography is done by Roger Deakins. I've just seen better work from him, and I have a hard time deciding who's gonna get like that fifth spot. So let's get into like my top four here. So we got Top Gun Maverick, I got The Fablemans, All Quiet on the Western Front, and Avatar: The Way of Water. That fifth spot is where I'm kind of shaky on. However, you got the Batman actually has been jumping up through for the nomination here in the last couple of days, and I very much agree with that. I think that cinematography was brilliant, and I would want that to be that fifth spot. However, I have a hard time not putting Roger Deakins on here when his film Empire of Light is getting when he's getting so much love for that movie. So it's a tough one. It's between that and the Batman, I think, for that fifth spot. But because Empire of Light, Roger Deakins has just kind of just come out of nowhere. But he's kind of up there. He's in like the thirdish kind of spot when you look at Gold Derby. I gotta put him on there. I gotta put him on there for cinematography. I'm gonna put him on as my fifth spot. I do think it should be the Batman, but I think Empire of Light, Roger Deakins is gonna get that one. So just to recap, I think number one at right now, Top Gun Maverick. We got All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Fablemans, and number five, Empire of Light. I think Roger Deakins is getting another nomination here. So moving on to Best Costume Design. This one is between two here, but I think the nominations are going to be for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever at number one. Then we got Elvis, Babylon, The Women King, and Miss Harris Goes to Paris. That Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris movie is just very much a costume, like, oh, wow, that's what you take away from it. So I think it's going to get nominated here. Like I said, I think the top two are going to be Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Elvis. Black Panther having that lead, of course, designed by Ruth E. Carter, who won the award for the original Black Panther movie. And I think she's going to get it again here. But, I think Elvis could possibly sneak on up there. But, of course, so that's number two is Elvis. Number three, we got Babylon. Four, Women King. And five, Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. That's what I'm looking at there for best costumes. All right, so moving on to best film editing. We got Top Gun Maverick at number one. Number two, Everything Everywhere All at Once, followed by Elvis, The Fablemans, and coming up, it's All Quiet on the Western Front. Like I said, since the BAFTAs, this has been rising on a lot of nominations, and I think it's going to get it here. Now, All Quiet on the Western Front I'm not confident in it taking that fifth spot. I am still thinking that either Banshees or Avatar could surprise and get on in there. As I originally did have Avatar on this list and had to bump it out for All Quiet. I'm pretty confident with the top four being Fablemans, Elvis, Everything Everywhere, and Top Gun, with Top Gun still leading, although it's going to be between Top Gun and Everything Everywhere. But like I said, that number five, it could go to either of those three films. Avatar, Banshees, or All Quiet. Keep an eye out for that fifth spot. But I'm going to stick with All Quiet. I'm going to stick with the hype train. I think All Quiet's got a good thing going for it. So that's film editing. Moving on to best hair and makeup here. I think number one is The Whale. Number two, Elvis. Number three, The Batman. Number four, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. And number five, I'm going to stick with Babylon. Now, All Quiet here is at the number four spot. However, I've seen both the movies of Babylon and All Quiet, and I'm just going to stick with Babylon. I think it had a little bit better hair and makeup presentation here. All Quiet's getting a lot of love right now, like I said, but I just don't think it's going to get exactly every nomination it's in for, even though Gold Derby has it as number four right now. I think I'm going to stick with Babylon on that fifth spot. We'll see how we do. Like I said, I'm not going to be shocked if All Quiet actually gets in there, but I'm going to stick with Babylon. but I don't think it really matters because I think it's going to the Whale anyway with what they do with Brendan Fraser. However, number two, you do have Elvis, and I think those two could be in good contention for this award. However, right now I'm pretty confident in the Whale for it. So that's best hair and makeup right there. We're gonna move on over to best production design. This category I love. It's one of my favorites, and I think all of the films here did a phenomenal job. But it's between the top three here. That's tough. But let's name all five nominees here. We got Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, The Fablemans, and Elvis, rounding out that top five. Now, as who are the top three? Well, it's Babylon, Avatar, and Black Panther. And I'm still going to say I'm pretty confident, actually, that Avatar could still win this award. Now, Babylon is the front runner at the moment. However, I'm not going to give up on Avatar. I think just what they were able to do is outstanding, and I think it should definitely be recognized for their design of Pandora. However, a lot of people are being like, well, because of a CGI, we're going to give it to something like Babylon, who actually had to build sets, who had to find locations and shoot on locations, and then, yes, had effects, but the effects weren't all of the movie. So I think that is going to maybe take away from Avatar, especially with some of the older Academy members. But for right now, I'm sticking with Avatar as the favorite, but the top five I'm pretty set on, with Elvis at number 5, The Fablemans at 4, Babylon's 3, Avatar: The Way of Water is 2, and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever number 1 there. It's just the quick 1 through 5 of the nominees. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that race continues, but again, I'm pretty confident on that 5 making it on in. Alright, so moving on to Best Score. This one is between Babylon at number 1, The Fablemans number 2, Women Talking, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and The Banshees of Inisherin. That's the top 5 right there, with Babylon on top. Justin Hurwitz, I think, is going to still take this award, with The Fablemans following behind at number 2 with John Williams. But I'm pretty confident in that being the 5 that are nominated. I love the score of all of these. Pinocchio, I think the score was brilliant. But like I said, these are going to be the 5 here. So moving on over to Best Song. This one is interesting. Has always been interesting to me. However, I think number 1, you got to give it to RRR for Not To, Not To. Is going to get it here. With number 2, Lift Me Up by Rihanna for Black Panther. Number 3, Hold My Hand, Top Gun. Number 4, Pinocchio. And number 5, I think it's going to be Tell It Like a Woman, and it's Applause from that movie. I've never heard of that movie, but that song, Applause, is moving on up the chain. And it's going to knock out Carolina from Where the Crawdads Sing by Taylor Swift. So, that's the top 5 there, with Not To from RRR. I think that's where that film's going to get recognized. So, I am happy about it getting recognized somewhere, but I think that's how the 5 are going to look, and I'm not really surprised by any of that. I'm pretty confident in this 5. So we're going to move on over to Best Sound. We got Top Gun Maverick, Avatar: The Way of Water, All Quiet on the Western Front, Elvis, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. I think Top Gun's doing pretty well here at number 1. And then we got Avatar as a second. But that 5th spot, let's talk about what could possibly replace that. It could be The Batman. Could possibly get on in here. I wouldn't be disappointed about that at all. I actually think the sound of Batman was pretty outstanding. But the Academy loved Everything Everywhere. And I think they're going to give it all the nominations they can, which is why I think it is going to get number 5 here. But yeah, the 5 over here I'm pretty confident in, with Top Gun being the lead. So that's Best Sound right there. Not too much to say. Moving on over to Visual Effects, known as the Avatar: The Way of Water Award. But let's get into the other 4 nominations. So like I said, number 1 is going to be Avatar. Number 2, we got Top Gun. Number 3, The Batman. Number 4, All Quiet on the Western Front. And number 5, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. With that number 5 spot, don't get too surprised if you see Doctor Strange getting into the nominations here. However, I have it at number 6, looking on in to that number 5 spot. But, I'm pretty confident in this 5. I'm definitely confident in Avatar winning the award. I think it's one of the easiest of the night. But yeah, I think this 5 is a pretty much guarantee come nominations Tuesday. So moving on over to another locked category, animated feature. Number 1, it's going to be Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Number 2, Turning Red. Number 3, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Number 4, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And number 5, we got Wendell and Wild. So, like I said, it's going to be a locked category. It's going to be Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Not too much of a surprise there. It's been sweeping all the awards, and it totally 100% deserves it. Very happy it's going to get it here. So, that's Pinocchio in number 1 for animated feature. Alright, so we are going to move on over to international film. And those nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Decision to Leave, Close, Argentina 1985, and The Quiet Girl. The Quiet Girl did a great showing at the BAFTAs, which bumped it up here into the nominations, I believe. But All Quiet on the Western Front, it's going to walk away with it. It's going to get a Best Picture nomination. It's also going to win here at International Film, and it totally deserves it. So I'm very happy it's going to get some recognition here and take away the award. So with that being said, I know we have the short categories and the documentary award also to look over. However, I'm not going to predict those films right now. I haven't seen enough or any of them to really speak on, so I don't want to cover those. However, we will cover those come Tuesday about what we think could lead those nominations. And that's going to do it for our prediction video. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Please let me know down below what you guys think is going to get nominated for the 95th Academy Awards. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how it shapes up on Tuesday. I'm going to be very excited to see how much of my predictions are actually true. And on Tuesday, I'm going to do another video too, reacting to the nominations, and then I will also give what I think is going to win in those categories as well. And we will be doing Oscar prediction videos here on the channel throughout February and throughout March until the Oscars, when we give our final predictions video on what we think is going to win at the Oscars. So we're going to have a lot of that content here on Emit One. Still going to keep up with SAG and all the other award season stuff as well. So we're going to dive on into that here on Emit One on a later date when all that stuff is ready to talk about. But until then, please subscribe, click the bell, do all that jazz. Please like, share the video. We really appreciate it here on Emit One. We just want to get the word out, and we really appreciate the community and the support we're getting from all of you. So thank you guys for watching. And until next time, I'm Tyson Honecker, and I'll see you back here on Emit One.